Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Vaughn with CCM Magazine, and today I have with us Aaron Boyd, who has a brand new single out called You Never Stop, and there's also a new EP dropping this week. I am very sad that we weren't able to do this interview in person in Ireland because CCM would not send me. However, by the magic of Zoom, we are able to talk to Aaron today. How are you, Aaron?
I am great, Jamie. I really appreciate it. Doing really good. Hanging in there. Getting out the other end of all of this stuff. So yeah, there's hope on the horizon.
How's your family been handling all of this?
It's honestly so well. My house is really small. I'm actually in my shed. So yeah, we needed another wee room, so we got our shed fitted out. We call it shed quarters. It's where we do everything. Um, I have three girls, 14, 12, and 7. So there's a bunch of homeschooling going on, which is completely new to us. And at the same time, my wife's been finishing up her degree in theology. So she's been writing essays, and so it's been really good. It has. There's obviously times where everyone's about to choke each other in love, but it's been a lot of fun. It really has. It has, definitely.
Choke each other in love. I understand. I do. Uh, so we premiered a video for you last week called You Never Stop. And that is such a fun visual that you created. And I would love to hear the inspo behind that and also the inspiration behind the song itself.
So I'm genuinely blessed in doing the whole kind of traveling and meeting people and all that kind of stuff. And I've had really great relationships with everyone I've met over the kind of past 10 years of doing this. And I have a really great friend in Edmonton called Marty Berg. And Marty Berg is the most resourceful, creative videographer guy on the planet. And obviously with like church and that stuff that we record. I was actually recording today for church on Sunday. We do it here, send it in, and then it's all clipped together and you have that kind of multi-camera thing going on. So I just thought everyone's used to seeing that. How can I bump that up the next level from my home? So I borrowed a big green screen off my friend, stuck it up in my living room. I got one camera, put it in the middle, and then I literally just hit record and then sat down on the seat, and I did it, my wife did it, my kids did it, got them to do their dance moves, and then just messaged a bunch of people with, here's a Dropbox link. If you want to just use your video camera on your phone, keeps file sizes smaller, do that and then just email me. So I uploaded all these videos on the Dropbox of kids dancing, people playing whatever. And literally my friend just worked his magic on this. He's an absolute genius and I love him to bits. So I was like genuinely mind blown watching that thing. I was just saying, like, hey, we've got the green screen so we can project whatever you want on the back of that and have at it. So he did that. I wrote that song with a great friend of mine called Nathan Jess that actually I've written a bunch of other songs with as well. And it is just, we intentionally wanted to write a dancey tune because they're hard to write. Do you know what I mean? They're actually hard to write because a lot of dance music's all about the drop. It's all actually about the music rather than a big anthemic chorus. And when we write choruses, I always want to try and write songs that you can just see people holding these declarations over their lives. And I just had this hook going on in my head for ages. You never stop loving me, and then it was like this, and we just literally sat down in January and pulled the whole thing together and just went, when we write worship songs, I love the Old Testament picture of the children of Israel, right? When they're in the wilderness, they lifted up banners, they lifted a standard all around them, and it was depictions of who God was, and ultimately foretold a prophetic kind of statement of Jesus. And I love that picture where, they faced the tabernacle, they faced the presence of God. It was central to who they were, but all around their camp, they did these banners. And that for me, as a worship leader, as a songwriter, as whatever you want to call it, I want to help people lift banners of truth. And in a moment like this, where people are fearful, in a moment like this, where people are, there's a lot of stuff screaming at us, I just wanted a simple truth where you never stop loving us, and that be a standard that we could lift over all of our lives. And rewrote the bridge about 29,000 times and landed at what it is, and we're good to go. So that's it.
Is this part of the new EP that's coming out this Friday?
Yes, it most definitely is. So the EP, it's funny, I was talking to a radio station yesterday, and the EP, well, obviously is extended play, so that's just it's that. But there's originally 5 songs, and just looking back, me and my wife Jill were watching this wee video that I put up on Facebook or whatever it was, just me sitting at a piano, and it was the song just after it was written, and one of my friends from Michigan commented and he said, "Oh, I'd love a chilled version of it," because when I was playing it, I was going like, "Oh, just imagine a big slamming track and all this kind of stuff." And the guy said, "Well, I'd have a chilled version of it." So the guy that I kind of co-produced the thing along with, David Lee, is amazing guy from Colorado that I met online, and which sounds really weird, but I met just to send him a message, and I started asking him, does he build tracks? And literally, there's not a day goes by now since the start of the year where we don't talk or communicate or dream about other projects. It's an incredible human being, David Lee. So we started dreaming around, okay, well, what's a chilled version of this look like? And lo and behold, then fast forward a couple of days, we have a guy playing cello, a guy on a violin, and there's acoustic tracks, and there's a really chilled version of it. It still goes somewhere. So that's track number 6. And then I thought, we'll have a real heart for justice. I love the work of World Orphans. We've been great partners for 5-6 years. It's family between us all. And I wrote a song for them because their tagline is "Until they all have homes." And so none of them have heard it yet, and they'll hear it on Friday. So I said that I sent him this demo. I said, this is where we're at. Really simple: verse, chorus, verse, double chorus. Keep this really, the chorus is just like "Until they all have homes." Our cry will ever be "Until they all have homes." And sent him that, and he came back, and the same guy that did strings on this one played strings on this. So that grew into this epic track. And I thought, well, then why don't I get my kids and another friend's family recording a bunch of scriptures? So we pulled a load of justice scriptures in the heart of the Father and put that. So that's track 7. Track 8 is the song. And then I said to my wife's a preacher, I said, Jill, why don't you just do a wee mini preach? So she does a wee 5-6 minute mini preach, which is track 9. And then one of my friends, there's a song called "God of Miracles." Hey, sorry, I'm just talking loads. So I am. Hey, my friend, he's a great guitar player from here, a guy called Connor Bird, traveled with me loads, just a solid human being. He sent me him playing the guitar, but he can do that where you play like the melody and the chords at the same time. I can't do that. So I said, send me that, and that's track 10. So my EP, which started off as 5 songs, has in lockdown grown to 10 tracks. So I call it an EEP, like a really extended play. So that's that. That's where we're at.
Well, that actually kind of makes it an LP then. I would go.
Well, there we go. Yeah, that's a long play. There we go. That's it.
So you mentioned your work with orphans and in missions, and your church has a statement of faith of worship and justice. I would love for you to share more of that with our viewers.
Yeah. So I go way back, okay, and I'm sweeping as fast as I can. So it was a teenager in November there. I wrote a song called "God of the City." It's 13 years old. I was on a mission trip in Pattaya, Thailand, and we ended up playing in the middle of a brothel. It's a bar where prostitution goes on. It's in the middle of a street called Walking Street, a pedestrian area. Hundreds of thousands of girls are all for sale in that town, and the fabric and the DNA is prostitution, okay? And I'd never seen that before. I grew up in Belfast. I'd seen bombs, heard all over the news, all that kind of stuff. In 1998, there was a peace agreement signed, and our country was being transformed ever since. But I'd never seen that level of injustice. And when I came home, me and my friend, who's actually on the God of the City album, it starts with a song called "Life's Noise." And there's a guy reading Bible verse at the start. He says he wasn't in a fire, he wasn't in the quake, he wasn't in the wind, he's in a whisper. That's my great buddy Pete Kernahan, and he's also on this EP as well, reading Amos 5. And so we roomed together, and we just talking, whose responsibility is this? What can we do? How do we engage the church? Where is God in the middle of all of this? And that set us off down a path of going, what can we do with what's in our hands? Now, ultimately, he's a DJ, but the whole kind of traveling, touring, that kind of stuff, it was just wasn't kind of really on for them as a family. And he started his own non-profit in Northern Ireland called No More Traffic, and he liaises with the police and does great work in the middle of all of that. And obviously then I continued to tour and travel and play music. And a bunch of years later, I met this guy in northern Michigan called Mike Crick. Now, in the middle of that, I'd get smuggled into Burma. I'd been all around the world, visiting the underground church, and almost got murdered a couple of times and all this crazy stuff. And it was just God opening these great doors for me to just engage with what he is doing globally around the church. And I love adventure, so that's just ticking all my boxes. And lo and behold, then there's a guy from Michigan who is on staff with World Orphans, small organization from Colorado, and their thing is about how do we keep families together? Out of these 45 million orphans that are on the planet, 80% of them have a living relative, and so out of that number, how do we keep these families together? How do we keep them in a family unit? And therefore, it minimizes the amount of just dangerous areas and influences that can have on their lives. So that's what their organization is about. And he was in Pattaya, Thailand with another friend, and they walked the same street where I played and recorded, and wrote God of the City. They got back to maybe, I don't know, the same hotel, and they were sitting trying to figure all this out. They didn't know who I was. My friend Mike had never heard the song before, but one of the other guys that was there, he started to play God of the City. He started to play me singing God of the City over the city. And they had a moment there. And then when they came home, they freaked out because why? They heard the story of the song. And all he wanted to do was find me and meet me. And lo and behold, they were in Northern Michigan at a festival, and that's where I was going to be playing. And this guy just came running at me, and he was like, Aaron, I want to introduce myself. He told me all about the organization. And I was like, brilliant. Well, this is what I've been doing up till this point. So let's go and do this. And he said, how do we do this? And I said, I will lead people in worship. I'll help people meet Jesus. And out of the back of that, our response is that we understand that we're called to be his hands and feet on this earth. When Jesus was asked what's the greatest commandment, when they were trying to back him into a corner, he delved back into Old Testament scriptures, and he said, love the Lord your God with all your mind, heart, soul, strength, and body, and love your neighbor as yourself. And in that one moment, what he did was just take away this idea of the spiritual and the secular. He mashed it all together, and he said, when we love God, it looks like loving people, and loving people is a sign, is an act of loving God at the same time. It's the same thing. And so that was just the start of my relationship with World Orphans. And I said, I'll lead worship, and you ask people for money, and that's been it. And we're about $5-6 million down the line, or whatever it's been, in this whole year. Maybe not that much, but we're up there. I'm playing in people's homes, back gardens, churches, wherever we go. We go to the communities that not loads of other people go to. People aim for the big cities and we want to go out in the communities where where no one ever goes, and build relationship with people, and we absolutely love it. So it's been a massive part. Like 50% of everything that I do, and CD sales and all that kind of stuff, goes to World Orphans. And it is family. It is family. It really is. They have stayed in my house, and I have stayed in theirs. And normally this time of the year we'd be running around to the States as an entire family. I'd be leading worship. Jill will be preaching. World Orphans would be there, and we'd be doing that. But obviously we're shut down at the minute. So it really is a great organization. Love them to bits.
Wow, I love that. Okay, as a songwriter, what is your favorite song or lyric that you've ever written?
I think probably I have off my Jericho record. There's so many moments. I think whenever you look at songs, you can chart moments in life. Jericho was when it was my last single, and it was when I found out that my daughter, when she was 10 and a half years old, ended up having to go into hospital for the first time. So there was a lot of fear around that. But I was on a mission trip one time, and I was in Cambodia, and I got to go and visit a bunch of girls that had all been rescued from the child sex exploitation world. And they were being trained up in baking cakes and buns and this kind of stuff and being micro enterprise, and then they would be set out into life. And there's about 14, 15 of them, and some of them had a couple of kids from being abused in life, and they were there, and I got to lead them in worship, and I think all but one um, basically was a Christian. And I remember speaking to the girl who did it, and she was just like, she's like a big sister to them. She's like, no, we'll get her, because it's God's love that brings about transformation, and when they're extended that and they see that, then that's what draws them to Him. And I remember just leading worship, and I began to sing over them, and I would be, call it prophetic, call it whatever you want to call it. Like I love birthing songs in a moment, so that whole idea of revelation response. So you hear something, and then if it's in there, then it comes out in a specific way. And so when I responded to that, I actually just began to sing, which has to be a God thing, because I am not that good with the English language, okay? I began to sing, you've given us beauty for ashes, a love and a mercy that wipes our tears away. You've given us hope for tomorrow and grace for today, beauty for ashes, always. And I finished that song, and it's called Beauty for Ashes. And finished it with a guy who has his own crazy journey in life, and he was abused as a young boy. And so that's probably like just a moment of a lyric that I absolutely love from Beauty for Ashes.
Love that. Okay, flip side. What is a song or a lyric you wish you had written?
What is a song that I wish I had written?
Yeah.
Oh, I love You Two Where the Streets Have No Name. Yeah, that's a belt. That's a complete belter. I love that. I really do. I think that's a great tune. And then my favorite band though is a Danish band. It's a band called Car Park North, and they've written some great songs, but you probably would never have heard of them. But I gotta fly the U2 flag. So Where the Streets Have No Name. That'd be a good one.
Love that.
That or Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, I think everybody get those ones.
Yeah.
First time I've had U2 mentioned, all of a sudden now I can't talk, mentioned on our show. So that's pretty fun. While we're wrapping up the interview, I want to give you a chance to leave our viewers with a message of hope. Is there anything you'd want to tell them?
I think at the minute I've obviously been watching everything that's going on in the world, and then everything that's obviously going on in the USA as well. And there's so much fear, and I'm not even going to go down the line of this versus this, or this or this, or agree with this or don't agree with this. I think in the middle of all of this, we can preach lots of different things, but I think the most central thing that we can show people is Jesus and the person of Jesus. And I know I touched on it before, but genuinely just getting those banners of truth, whatever they may be, over whatever circumstance that you're going. It may be fear, it may be you've lost your job, it may be finance, it may be sickness, it may be whatever it is. You grab hold of what the word says, grab hold of the promises. We don't need to fight for them. We don't need to, it's like we need to rest in the understanding that it's nothing to do with us, but it's everything to do with Jesus in us. And we can rest in those moments and actively rest in moving forward, if that makes sense, and hold those banners of truth over our lives. We're not striving. The only thing, what is it that we're asked to do is fight to stay in the love of Christ, to keep ourselves in that place where we understand that we are loved, that we are accepted, and that His grace and His mercy is there for us, no matter what we have done. And understand that God is our source, not our jobs, not our bosses, not our whatever, but He's our source, and He chooses different ways to influence us in all areas of our lives. And so, yeah, just keep Jesus at the center. It sounds so tweed and so simple, but it's the only truth. It's the only thing that can work and can bring about some peace and healing and wherever we need it.
Aaron, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today at CPM. And everyone, make sure on Friday to go and check out his new EP, Grace. And you can also
Absolutely.
his new song, Never Stop, on ccm.com and on all of the streaming services.